great beginning starts with a vision, and every vision becomes real when curious minds come together. Good morning, everyone. I'm Afia Sheikh, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to PCET's Pimpri Chinswad College of Engineering, Pune. Just like a rainbow appears after a storm, innovation is born when creativity meets challenge. With that thought, we warmly welcome you to the International Grand Challenge Indradhanu 2526, presented by International Relations Cell of Pimpri Chinswad College of Engineering, a space where ideas don't just stay on paper, but are built, tested, and brought to life. Indradhanu stands for diversity, creativity, and innovation. And today, we truly see all three coming together under one roof. To make this occasion even more special, we are honored to have an esteemed panel of dignitaries with us. We are privileged to welcome Dr. Pramod Khargonkar, former Vice Chancellor for Research and Distinguished Professor of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at the University of California, Irvine. Dr. Peter M. Groffman, Professor at the City University of New York. Dr. Govind Kulkarni, Director, Pccoe. Dr. N.B. Chopre, Deputy Director, Pccoe. And Dr. Roshni Raut, Convener and Dean, International Relations, Pccoe. Lighting the lamp symbolizes the beginning of knowledge, clarity, and positive energy. To mark the auspicious start of today's event, I kindly request our respected dignitaries to come forward for the lamp lighting ceremony, accompanied by Saraswati Vandana.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा. शुक्लां ब्रह्मविचारसारपरमाम् आद्यां जगद्व्यापिनीं वीणापुस्तकधारिणीमभयदां जाड्यान्धकारापहा. हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधतीं पद्मासने संस्थितां वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवतीं बुद्धिप्रदां शारदाम्.
Thank you for that calm and soulful invocation. It truly set the tone for the day. I now request our respected dignitaries to kindly take their seats on the dais. I request Dr. Pramod Khargonkar, Dr. Peter Groffman, Dr. Govind Kulkarni, Dr. N.B. Chopre, and Dr. Roshni Rao to please take their seats on the dais. May I now invite our respected director, Dr. Govindan Kulkarni, to felicitate our honorable chief guest, Dr. Pramod Khargonkar, as a gesture of respect and gratitude for gracing this occasion. Thank you so much. I further request our respected director to felicitate our honorable keynote speaker, Dr. Peter Groffman, in appreciation of his valuable contributions and presence today. So, thank you so much, everyone. To formally welcome everyone and to share the vision behind this initiative, we now invite Dr. Roshni Raut, convener of Indradhanu International Grand Challenge 25-26 and Dean International Relations Pccoe, to deliver the welcome address. Please give her a huge round of applause.
Thank you. A very good morning to everyone present here. It is my honor to welcome you all to the inaugural ceremony of Indradhanu International Grand Challenge 25-26, organized by International Relations Cell of Pimpri-Chinchwad College of Engineering. It is my privilege to welcome our chief guest, Dr. Pramod Khargonkar, former Vice Chancellor and Research and Distinguished Professor at the University of California, Irvine. Sir, we are deeply honored by your presence and look forward to your valuable guidance. I extend a heartfelt welcome to our keynote speaker, Dr. Peter Groffman, professor at City University of New York, Brooklyn College, and researcher at the Carey Institute of Ecosystem Studies, USA. Your distinguished contribution to earth and environmental sciences are truly inspiring, and we are grateful to have you with us today. We have with us our Honorable Director, Dr. Govindan Kulkarni, whose visionary leadership and constant encouragement have been instrumental in raising global academic initiatives and interdisciplinary innovations at our institute. We also have with us Dr. N.B. Chopre, Deputy Director, Pccoe. I warmly welcome Mr. Saibal Sen, Chairman, IF, Western Region. I extend my welcome to Dr. Neil Philip and Dr. Professor Paramita Sen from Bronze Community College, City University of New York. We are truly grateful to our co-organizers. Again, Bronze Community College, City University of New York, NewGen, startup at San Francisco, Capgemini, the Institute of Indian Foundryman, Western Region, IEEE Pune section, EcoScience Services, and Pune AI Community. I also take this opportunity to welcome our esteemed jury members, industry experts, directors and principals from other institutes of PCET, faculty colleagues, and most importantly, a special welcome to our enthusiastic student participants, the finalists of Indradhanu. You are truly the heart and driving force of this initiative. Dear participants, your ideas, hard work, and passion make this competition alive and inspiring. About Indradhanu, Indradhanu means rainbow. Inspired by the Sanskrit word, it represents hope, diversity, and positive transformation. It truly reflects the spirit of innovation and collaboration. With this vision, Indradhanu, the International Grand Challenge, has been launched as a global initiative by the Internationalization Cell of Pimpri-Chinchwad College of Engineering, Pune. The theme of this challenge is AI for climate change and is aligned with the United Nations SDG climate action. The core objective of Indradhanu is to address global challenges by encouraging multidisciplinary collaborations, motivating participants from diverse academic backgrounds to work together and integrate technology with creative ideas. Indradhanu is a carefully designed, multi-stage innovation challenge that commenced in June 2025 and has been conducted in 3 structured phases. Stage 1 was the ideation. Teams submitted innovative ideas through detailed presentations on the theme AI for climate change and completed online registrations. There were 13 tracks provided to the participants. Few of them I highlight here: predictive climate modeling, AI for disaster forecasting and response, carbon footprint monitoring, biodiversity and ecosystem monitoring, ocean and marine protection using AI. In stage 2, that was the prototype video submission, shortlisted teams submitted video demonstrations showcasing the design, functionality, and potential impact of their working prototypes. Stage 3, that is the finale, that is grand finale. Today, the finalists will demonstrate their solutions live before an eminent jury panel. The response of this challenge has been truly exceptional. In stage 1, we received 1,002 teams registrations, their ideas, and they have submitted their ideas and registered for the event, including 10 international teams, 55 teams from outside Maharashtra representing 18 states of India, and 937 teams from Maharashtra. Out of these, 899 teams were shortlisted to proceed to stage 2. During stage 2, we received 481 prototype video submissions, comprising 6 international teams, 12 teams from outside Maharashtra, and 443 teams from Maharashtra. From this, industry evaluators associated to Indradhanu shortlisted the top 25 teams for the grand finale. However, today, 19 outstanding teams will be presenting and demonstrating their solution. Today marks stage 3, the most exciting and defining phase of Indradhanu. You will witness live demonstrations, followed by insightful technical discussions with our distinguished jury members. We are truly excited to sense the creativity, innovation, and commitment that our finalist teams will showcase today, and I'm confident that their solutions will inspire all of us to think bigger, act smarter, and work together towards a sustainable future. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to everyone here in the Indradhanu International Grand Challenge. I wish everyone an exciting and inspiring day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those insightful words. Your address has beautifully set the direction and energy for the day. Moving forward, I now invite our Honorable Director and a visionary leader, Dr. Govind Kulkarni, to address the gathering and share his thoughts with us. Please give him a huge round of applause.
A very good morning to all. Dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Pramod Kharwankarji, Peter Groffman, my Deputy Director, Dr. Nilkan Chopade sir, and our hardworking and driving force behind this Indradhanu, Dr. Mrs. Roshni Raut, who is also our Dean International Relations, my all supporting members, Professor Philip, Professor Paramita Sen, who have come all the way from US with a arduous journey, we can describe it as a. So it is the love, it is a support due to which they are all coming here and made their presence here felt. I also welcome jury members, expert jury members who have spared time for assessing the projects here. And I welcome my co-organizers also. So a very warm welcome to Indradhanu. Today, we are inaugurating grand final of the hackathon Indradhanu, which is International Grand Challenge 25-26 AI for climate change. Actually, I had prepared, but I don't have a habit to read and then I'm not comfortable reading. Climate change is all centered about anthropogenic CO2, if I am not wrong, sir. Anthropogenic CO2, which has a greatest GW potentially, GWP, global warming potential. So most of the activities all over the world are centered towards reducing this anthropogenic CO2. How AI, and then which is leading to climate change, this CO2 percentage in environment is leading to global warming and climate change. How AI can help here? There are different nyay in Sanskrit, kakataliya nyay, anyokti and all. Like this, there is a nirakshira vivek. In Sanskrit, there is a nirakshira vivek. Neer is water, kshir is milk. When water and milk are mixed together, there are very few birds like rajahans, they can separate water and milk. That is called nirakshira. Nirakshira vivek. A person having nirakshira vivek, which can differentiate good and bad, right and wrong, is said to be having the nirakshira vivek. AI can help in this climate change to be a game changer in this nirakshira vivek. AI can be a margadarshak, AI can be a guide for nirakshira vivek. In what sense this nirakshira vivek is needed? Any industrial activity, for that matter, any activity which is leading to emission of CO2, AI can tell you this is a sustainable or not sustainable. This is nira, this is kshira. It is ethical, non-ethical, business-minded, social-minded. So at all, and then as we go on, the micros will go on increasing. And at every point of time where every time human intervention becomes difficult and complex, AI will come into picture. So we perceived this, and then we perceived a great potential of innovation in this climate change, which AI can bring into the different activities. So with this motive, then who will do the innovation? My youngsters will do my youngsters all over the world will do this. So we thought of inviting all my youngsters, bright minds, to contribute quantumly towards the climate change. So this was the very much objective of this Indradhanu. I hope this purpose will be solved partially. So this was the background of Indradhanu. Now about my institute. Sir, Pccoe began operations in 1999. We have 4,700 students on campus, and we are running many undergraduate programs leading to BTech, postgraduate program leading to MTech, and we also have a research program leading to PhD. We have almost 100 PhD students pursuing their research. We are working persistently in imparting knowledge, skill, and attitude and behavior in our students. We are making our presence felt at the national as well as international level through our students and faculty achievements as well as alumni. A vibrant work culture at Pccoe also forms a major contributor in our brand building. We have set a vision of appearing into first 100 engineering institutes of India in coming 5 years. All our undergraduate and PG programs are accredited by NBA. Besides academic discipline, collaboration with industries has also become Pccoe's strength. Now, under the leadership of Dr. Mrs. Roshni Raut of Indradhanu, a team of nearly 100 faculty members and students worked relentlessly to bring the dream of Indradhanu into reality. I appreciate and acknowledge their motivation and efforts here. Our team of volunteers will always be happy to assist you in the coming day activities. I express my gratitude to all co-organizers for their staunch support. Pccoe looks forward for a similar gesture in future. I also take this opportunity to express my gratitude to all the esteemed juries for sparing their valuable time from their busy schedules for the final assessment of the projects. I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the trustees of PCET, Pimpri-Chinchwad Education Trust, for their continual, perpetual, and robust support. I also thank international resource persons as well as participants for sparing time to visit India and Pccoe for this event. Your presence here is a great inspiration for us. Hope our association takes a concrete shape and strength in the future. I am sure about the outcome of the Indradhanu to be mutually beneficial. Pune is a pleasant city and is regarded as Oxford of East. Hope you enjoy the climate of Pune and our hospitality. Please feel free to give your valuable feedback for our improvement in the versions of Indradhanu to come in the future. Let's come together. Let's work together. Let us grow together and make this world a better place to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words and for constantly inspiring young innovators to think beyond boundaries. Every meaningful initiative lives behind more than memories. It leaves behind knowledge that can be shared, built upon, and carried forward. At this moment, we move towards the unveiling of the proceedings of Indradhanu, a compilation that captures the ideas, innovations, and collaborative spirit showcased in this grand challenge. These proceedings stand as a testament to the creativity, research, and problem-solving mindset of our participants. I now request our respected dignitaries to unveil the proceedings of Indradhanu, marking another important milestone in this journey of innovation. Thank you so much, everyone. Innovation flourishes when knowledge is shared, and today we are fortunate to learn from a global voice in environmental science. It is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Peter M. Groffman. He is a distinguished professor at the City University of New York's Advanced Science Research Center, with affiliations to the Graduate Center, Brooklyn College, and the Carey Institute of Ecosystem Studies. His work focuses on climate change and ecosystem processes, particularly carbon and nitrogen cycles. He has played key leadership roles in the US National Climate Assessment and multiple IPCC reports, and currently serves as the president of the Ecological Society of America. With over 65,000 citations and an H index of 134, his contributions have shaped global environmental research. We are truly honored to have you, sir.
At 10:10? 10:15? Okay. You want to do it now, or you want to wait? Okay. Okay. And then how do I change the slides?
Yeah, I'll give you the slide.
Okay. I should use this just to.
Yeah, I will change it.
How does this? Good morning. I am very honored to be the keynote speaker, and I'm very excited about our topic about artificial intelligence applications to climate change. And so what I hope to do is to introduce some of the scientific challenges associated with climate change that I hope many of our projects will be addressing using artificial intelligence. Let's see, okay, so I would make the case that climate change is one of the greatest scientific challenges of our time. And it's a scientific challenge within specific disciplines, but the real challenge is at the interface between many different disciplines that have to be brought together to address the challenge of climate change. So there's a lot of physics and chemistry of the atmosphere. There's a lot of biological responses. But then we need to also think about the human effects, and so we need to interface the physics and the biology and the chemistry with social sciences and economics and political sciences and anthropology. And this requires a multidisciplinary approach, which is a great challenge for us as scientists. It also requires some different ways of doing science, because climate change is a human science. The effects and the responses and the solutions are all rooted in how society responds to climate change. And so it requires a different way, and I'll talk a little bit about community-based participatory research as a new way of doing science to address climate change as a challenge, but then also other scientific challenges that we face in society. Also with the challenges of climate change, extreme events are a great challenge. One that gets a little bit warmer, gets a little bit wetter. The climate changes in gradual ways that are difficult to perceive. The extreme events create great challenges, but they also create opportunities for us to really grapple with the challenge of climate change. So I will talk a little bit about extreme events as well. And I guess the question is, I go back just one more, go back one. The question for us is, will science reach the challenge? Climate change is a great challenge that we face. And as young scientists and as young engineers and as older scientists and older engineers, this is the challenge that we face, and can we meet the challenge? And that's what we'll talk about, I think, a little bit today. Okay, so will our science pass the test? There are a couple of concepts, just some ideas that I wanted to introduce that I think are very important for thinking about the challenge of climate change. So ideas of resistance and resilience, the idea of coupled social, ecological, technical systems, talk about fail-safe and safe to fail, a little bit about managed retreat, and then a bit community-based participatory research. And these are concepts that I'm hoping to introduce. Many of you are probably familiar with them, but they're very essential, I think, for addressing the challenge of climate change. Next. Oh, wait, and we have an announcement.
Sincere apologies to interrupt Professor Groffman. I have some important thing to address. As we all are lamenting the untimely sad demise of the Deputy Chief Minister, Shri Ajitdada Pawar, I request all of you to rise and keep 2 minutes of silence in his respect. Please. Thank you all. We are observing this as a Hutatma Din today, so I request all of you to keep 2 minutes of silence. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you. Please, sir.
So these are some concepts that I think are very important for us to think about, and I'll talk about these briefly as we go along. Okay. We move on. Okay, so first, resistance and resilience. And these are terms that are used in, my training is in ecology, but they're also used in other areas of environmental science and engineering. But resistance is our ability to maintain a current state in the face of a stress, whether it's the simplest example is the wind is blowing on a forest, and how hard does the wind have to blow before the tree falls down? And so if trees stand strong in the face of the wind, they have high resistance. Resilience is often referred to as how quickly things recover from a disturbance. So if the wind blows in the forest and the trees fall down, how quickly does the tree grow back? And the idea of resistance and resilience is extremely important for us thinking about climate change, because whether it's our natural ecosystems or our human settlements, we have to think about how well do they resist the stress, and then how quickly do they recover, or how resilient are they from the stress. And resistance and resilience are ideas that are very simple to define, but they're very hard to use in our science. They mean different things to different people at different times. It's very difficult to quantify resistance and resilience, and it's very challenging to manage. We would like to manage our natural ecosystems or our agricultural systems or our cities. We'd like to manage them through increased resistance and increased resilience, but it's very hard to do that. It's very hard to quantify, and it's very hard to manage to do it. But interest in resilience has grown because of what we call non-stationarity. The climate is much more difficult to predict than it used to be. Our economic systems are more difficult to predict than they used to be. Our political systems are more difficult than they used to be. Our technological systems are more difficult to predict than they used to be. And so given non-stationarity, given that the world is less predictable, all we can do is manage for resistance and resilience. We have to say the world is crazy, and we need to be able to, both as individuals and as systems, to be able to think about resistance and resilience in the face of a ever-changing and crazy world. So the next one, please. So one way to help us think about a non-stationary world and how to respond to that is to recognize that the systems that we study are coupled systems, and we'd like to think that they're coupled in a social, ecological, technical system. So now if we think about managing resistance and resilience, say in a coastal area or in a city, we recognize that certainly there's an ecological, biophysical domain. What are the systems that are there? The soils, the vegetation, the hydrology. There's also a social economic domain, in that there are the people that live there and the structures of society. And then many of our solutions exist within the technological, infrastructural domain. We're engineers here. And so we're very much in that technological domain. But the real solutions to our problems lie at the intersection of all three. And so just recognizing that the systems that we're studying and that we're managing are coupled social, ecological, technical systems is a big advance in the way we think about our systems and then the way that ultimately we manage them. So if I have the next slide, and just briefly, we've been thinking about this, and we had an Urban Resilience to Extreme Sustainability and Resilience Network, which was funded by the National Science Foundation in the US, and it was a bunch of cities in the United States and in South America. And why do I love to come to India? Because the things that we talk about in North America and South America, I think we have a lot to, I think there's a lot of need, we have a lot to learn from India, and hopefully there's some value in sharing information across. So that's a big part of the reason why I'm very excited to be here. If I have the next slide, please. Okay, so we think about resistance and resilience, and that has a big effect on the way we think about extreme events. And there's this idea of fail-safe versus safe to fail. So fail-safe is the traditional way that we as engineers think about protecting ourselves from extreme events. We are worried about flooding, so we build a really big flood wall to protect us from the flood wall. And the idea is that we create structures to prevent catastrophes. And that fail-safe approach, it keeps us safe until it doesn't, and then we're in a lot of trouble. So we had a terrible experience with this in the United States. We had Hurricane Katrina in the city of New Orleans. New Orleans is a lovely city, but it's below sea level, and it has big walls all around it. And it kept the city safe until the walls failed, and then the city flooded. And given that the world is non-stationary, that we used to be able to say, well, the flood is going to be this big, so we'll build the wall this big, but now we don't know how big the flood is going to be. And so there's this idea that the fail-safe approach maybe is not good. We need to consider an alternative to a fail-safe approach. And again, it's been driven by non-stationarity, and it's been driven by the fact that climate change has created events that we've never had before. So okay, the next one. So this then leads us to a safe-to-fail approach. And the idea is we are going to have extreme events, we're going to have floods, but the question is, can we minimize the damage, and can we increase our resilience? Can we increase our ability to recover from those events really quickly? So it's again, the fail-safe is resistance. We build a big wall to keep us safe. The safe-to-fail approach is much more focused on resilience and how quickly can we come back. Now, I get very excited about the apps that our students are making for this competition because many of them are very consistent with a safe-to-fail approach. The idea of can we take environmental data and make that available to people so that they can make decisions about how to keep themselves safe or how to recover from a disaster. And so very much what we're asking our students to do, I think, is very consistent with this idea of a safe-to-fail approach. And I'm very excited to see the talks and the presentations from our students. Now, I'm an academic, I'm an ecologist, and the idea of a safe-to-fail approach, it makes a lot of sense to me. But there are many unanswered questions with a safe-to-fail approach. In fact, the next. In particular, instead of building big walls, we want to build a lot of smaller, what we call softer features. And there's quite a bit of uncertainty, and this is civil and environmental engineering as well as ecological science. Will the softer features work? If I build a wall, I know what a wall is going to do. I know what a wall is not going to do. But if I build a wetland or a bioswale, and I'll show you some pictures of these in a minute, I don't know that much what they're going to do. I wrote a paper once, how reliable is the green in green infrastructure? And this is a question for scientists and engineers. But maybe a more important question is, will people believe that the safe-to-fail approach works? So we talk to the people in the city, and if we say, there's a flood, would you like a big wall? Or would you like a constructed wetland or some type of green infrastructure? They may say, thanks, I'll take the wall. And so there's this is where we start to talk about a coupled social ecological system. As a scientist and engineer, I'll say, well, this is what we're going to do. But then many people say, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And so this is the questions with safe-to-fail is, will the people believe that they'll work? And will the features be distributed equitably and fairly? Who's going to get the nice features? Who's going to get the walls? This is a question that can be resolved with what I'll talk about in a minute, a community-driven participatory process to address these questions. Have the next one, please. So what do I mean by green infrastructure? This is a topic that's very popular in the US now, and there's the idea that when we look at our cities in particular, we see many kinds of green features, and we can view them along what we call an eco-techno spectrum. We have some natural ecosystems, some remnant wetlands and some remnant forests at one side, and these are natural ecosystems with very little human management. We then have parks and street trees and urban agriculture, which are a hybrid between natural and managed systems. And then, of course, at the techno end, we have highly engineered features that are providing environmental benefits. This is a topic that many of our students are working on, is how do we design these, how do we make them work, how do we assess how well they work? And viewing them along this eco-techno spectrum is a useful way to do it. The next one. Viewing them along an eco-techno spectrum also allows us to ask questions about the human dimension of these features. So in particular, we can ask questions about, okay, I have features along this eco-techno spectrum. Who benefits most from those features? Who makes the decisions, the political decisions about what kind of features will be built where? And then who pays? What are the financial dimensions? And so it's been useful in our analysis of cities in North and South America to say, here's the range of green infrastructure we have, who benefits, who makes the decisions, and who pays. And this is a useful way to think about it. These features are really very interesting, and they've created a huge burst of creativity in scientists and engineers as can we design these features to do the things that we want to do. The next one. And I work in New York City, which is on the coast. There's great interest in coastal flooding, and so this idea of natural features, sand dunes and wetlands on the ecological side, and then way at the other end we have these breakwaters and these highly engineered features. But this idea of a spectrum between natural features and engineered features is very important, particularly in coastal areas. Okay, next. Okay, so we've talked about how do we deal with risk. Do we take a fail-safe or a safe-to-fail approach? Another concept that we've been struggling with is the idea of managed retreat. Are there some places where we should not live? You look at New Orleans. New Orleans is a city below sea level. Should we live in New Orleans? And of course, New Orleans is a big city. It's an old city, and no one's going to abandon New Orleans. But the question in certain places of should we retreat from the coast? And we use that to build resilience and create other natural benefits, and also move people out of harm's way. The next one, please. And so there's been a lot of work on managed retreat, and there are lots of scientific ideas about what are the components of managed retreat and what are the important conditions. And again, managed retreat makes a lot of sense to me as an ecologist, but as with safe to fail, there are many, many questions about if this will be useful. So if I have the next one. And in particular, who makes the decision to retreat? I think we should retreat from your neighborhood. You think I should retreat from my neighborhood. This is a very, very difficult decision to make. Well, could we go? I think we're one up. And then again, the costs can be very high. It's very expensive to move people out. And then also many of our municipalities, we generate tax revenue from properties, especially along the coast. The coast is very valuable properties. So the city says, okay, you're asking me to pay money to move people out of the way. It's now I'm going to lose tax revenue, and I'm also now have new vacant land to manage. So managed retreat is it's something that sounds good to scientists, but once the scientists talk to the rest of the people, they realize maybe it doesn't make sense. And it really shows why we have to have multidisciplinary science. It really shows why we have to have interaction with the people who make decisions and the people who are affected by those decisions. So the next one, please. And one way out of that is to think about this community-based participatory approach. In traditional science and in engineering, scientists and engineers do science, they make recommendations, they then share those recommendations with the community, and they say, this is what we're going to do. But in many cases, and this is part of the non-stationarity of the world, the community say, no, we're not going to do that. And we realize that we do better science and we get better solutions if we involve the community from the beginning. This is very difficult for scientists and engineers, to be able to engage with community members to say, well, what are the scientific questions that we should do, that we should ask? Can we conduct science together? Can we get communities involved in defining the questions and in collecting the data and interpreting the data? And this is, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for us to do, but the idea is that we're going to get better solutions, more community support, and more resilience if we bring the community in from the beginning. And this, I think, is a great challenge going forward. And again, the projects that our students are doing here are very consistent with this community-based approach. We're creating apps to let people interact with the environment and to interact with the science. And I think much of the work that we see today is relevant to this idea of a community-based participatory approach. And I have one last thing to talk about. The idea of resilience. So in a non-stationary world, the only thing we can do is manage for resilience and say, yes, we're going to have surprises, but we need to be able to absorb those surprises and come back. And a big part of that is to quantify resilience. And there's been new work in both science and engineering to focus on what makes a resilient system. And in particular, there's been work on, let's see if I can get this to work, to point this out. Well, I'll walk over. So certain systems are resilient. You see the ball sits in the trough. That's a resilient system. Because if I disturb the system and I push the ball up the side, it rolls back down. That's an example of a resilient system. On B, that's a low resilient system because see, if I push the ball to the left, it goes up and it comes back. But if I push it to the right, it goes into a different state. It's a non-resilient system. So we would like to be able to identify which of our systems are resilient and which ones are not. And the current thinking is that if we focus on patterns of variance, say I measure oxygen levels in the water, or I measure some type of biological respiration process, in some cases, I have a stable variance structure. And the idea is the stable variance structure tends to be predictive of high resilience. Where if I have an unstable variance structure, then perhaps that's an indicator that the system is less resilient. These ideas are adopted from economics, where so in economics, people have been looking for indicators of change, leading indicators or lagging indicators of changes in the economic system based on variance. So if some aspect of the money supply varies, economists say, well, we should pay attention to this. Can we address this in the systems that we do now? And again, this is a topic I think is very relevant to the projects that our students are working on, because we're collecting lots of data from whether it's weather stations or other types of sensors. Can we use those to look for changes in variance as predictors of changes in resilience in our system? It's kind of a frontier topic at the interface between science and engineering and application. Okay, the next one. So, what do we need to do to meet the challenge of climate change? When we talk to our stakeholders and we talk to people who manage systems, they recognize that we live in a non-stationary world, and they say we need to know about resilience, resilience, resilience. And that's a big thing that the message that we get in talking about the challenge of climate change. Can we measure and predict resilience? Can we use changes in variance as early warning signals of change? These are questions for us. Can we use that information to manage our systems better? We need to grapple with fail-safe and safe-to-fail in our systems and manage retreat. And these questions about managing and predicting resilience will be greatly facilitated if we take a community-based participatory approach. So at the beginning, I asked, will we meet the challenge of climate change? And I think we will. I have been working in climate change assessments since the IPCC started in the 80s, and I think we've made great progress in the science. We have new conceptual approaches, new ways of thinking about non-stationarity and thinking about resilience. We have new ways of doing science. And then most importantly, which is what makes today so exciting, is that we have really smart young people who are willing to grapple with this. And so I'm very much looking forward to looking at our presentations and talking with our students. And I thank you very much for inviting me and for your attention. Do I take questions, or we just go?
If you want, you can take questions.
Does anyone have a question? A quick question for me? Or does anyone want to argue with me? Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure everyone gained lots of insights from your work. It is now my privilege to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Pramod Khargonkar. He is a renowned leader in engineering, research, and higher education. Currently a distinguished professor at the University of California, Irvine. His career spans academia, national research leadership, and public service, including senior roles at the University of Michigan, University of Florida, ARPAE, and the National Science Foundation. His work bridges control theory with real-world applications in energy systems, climate resilience, and AI-driven cyber-physical systems. A fellow of IEEE, IFAC, and AAAS, he is widely respected for both research excellence and transformative leadership. We are truly honored to have you, sir. I now request you to please address the gathering. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Like that? Seriously? Like that? Okay. Yeah, if you can. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Well, it's an honor to be here. First of all, I want to thank Pccoe leadership for inviting me to be your chief guest. And it's really a wonderful program that I'm very pleased to be part of. Dr. Kulkarni talked about Nirakshira Vivek. Well, we need that urgently since many years ago, so I think it's great to be here. I'm going to, Peter did a fantastic job of laying out what's in front of us. I'm going to give you a little different perspective, so just a short presentation to share some thoughts on what we are about, and then close my presentation. So, next slide, please. So Demis Hassabis, whose picture you see on the screen, is one of the leading AI experts. He was the head of Google DeepMind and has been behind creation of a lot of AI innovations that people are using today. He won the Nobel Prize in chemistry for solving the protein folding problem. So after he won the Nobel Prize, he was interviewed by Guardian, the British newspaper, and there are a couple of quotes here. So Hassabis thinks that AI revolution will be 10 times bigger than industrial revolution and 10 times faster. And then he says that we will have something that will exhibit all the cognitive capabilities of humans within 5 to 10 years. So we are truly in the middle of a revolution, and I want to sort of begin the discussion from AI end. Peter did it from the climate end. I'm going to sort of do it from the AI end, and we will bring it all together. So next slide, please. So what kind of technology will AI be? AI is a developing technology. So one thing to remember with AI is what's today, what's true today, or what's a weakness today will not be a weakness tomorrow. So don't assume that things that don't work today won't work tomorrow. There is enormous amount of investment going into AI to make these systems better, more useful, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So there are many different visions for what AI is going to be. One vision is it will become artificial general intelligence, powerful AI, ultimately artificial super intelligence, something that will be smarter than all of us put together. And so that's one train of thought. Other train of thought says, you know what, it's just going to be a normal technology. It's just like we have many technologies, AI will be just another one. We will use it and get on with life. Then there is the third train of thought, which is that AI is a general purpose technology. I'll describe that in a second. Fourth train of thought is AI is a social technology. I won't talk about this much more, but the idea is that AI is kind of a cultural technology, sort of like economic markets or democracy. And there is a big thesis behind this, which I don't have time to go into today, so just let's leave it that. And then finally, this is really a food for thought for all of you, mainly because we don't know the answer. What's the analog to AI from previous technological revolutions we have seen? So we have seen many technological revolutions. Internet, computers, microprocessors, electricity, steam engine, printing press. What is it going to be like? Some combination of these, something completely new and different.
And I'll say a few more comments about what I think it might be like, but let's go to the next slide. So one thing that I currently believe that AI will be a general purpose technology. And so what's a general purpose technology? So there were a couple of economists, Bresnahan and Trachtenberg at Berkeley, who wrote a paper in 1995, and they made the following argument. Not all technologies are created equal. So I'll give you an example. MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, that we use for taking images of our body, it's a wonderful technology. We don't want to live without it, right? Like who doesn't want an MRI? If you can afford it, yeah, we want MRI if we need it. So that's an example of technology. And then you have a technology like electricity or steam engine or the internet. And these two are very different kinds of technologies. Internet, electricity, steam engine were epochal innovations. They created epochs in human history that changed how the whole society lived, whether that was in business, in education, in health, in entertainment. I mean, any aspect of life was transformed by these technologies. So their argument is, there are these special technologies that are not very common. They're not very common, and I'll come back with the MRI example to illustrate the differences. They have 4 characteristics, okay? Widespread applicability. The technology is applicable in all facets of human existence. Continuous improvement. In fact, when these technologies start, they're very kludgy. They don't really work very well. Electricity is a great example. When Edison first started this, power systems failed all the time. The reliability wasn't that great. The systems were small, hand-engineered. Now, you can plug into your outlet and you will get electricity, 220 volts in India at 60 hertz, 99.99% reliability, you get electricity. The system improved over time, continuous improvement over decades and decades and decades. No close substitutes. This is a very important characteristic. These technologies, general purpose technologies, are such that there is nothing like it. So I'll use electricity again as an example. Can you imagine not having electricity? Or saying, you know what, I don't need electricity, I will use this other thing that is, more or less like, there is no such thing. There is no such thing. In fact, if you want to live without electricity, you have to go back to like 1750 and imagine life that was in 1750 and imagine the life in 2026. There is nothing that replaces electricity. So these general purpose technology, or take internet, right? I mean, if you say, okay, I don't want to use internet, there is nothing like it. There is no substitute for it. And enabling complementary innovation. That's the 4th characteristic, that once it exists, you can do things that it wasn't intended to do. And I'll illustrate this, but let me just go back to the MRI example. MRI, while it's a wonderful technology, there are substitutes. So like, if I can't afford MRI, well, I'll get ultrasound. Oh, ultrasound is not as good, doesn't give me as clear a picture, but there is an alternative. I don't want to live without MRI, but there is a substitute for MRI if I don't have it. Continuous improvement, MRI improved, but now it's more or less, final, okay? So it's not going to change much. And it's not widespread applicability. It's useful for just one thing, that is taking images. If I have a disease, then I want an image and that's it. It's not going to be useful in education or business or things like that. Whereas those epochal technologies are useful across human endeavor. So these are like steam engine, the whole industrial revolution, electricity, semiconductors, computers, internet, and web. Argument is that AI is one of those. AI is a transformative general purpose technology, is going to change everything. Next slide, please. I'm now going to sort of transition to climate change. So I told you what I think AI is going to be like, and then I'll bring it back at the end of the talk. So, climate change is already here. This is not theory. Peter told us all excellent ideas about climate change, but these are observed temperatures. 2024 was the warmest year on record, almost 1.6 degrees Celsius above mean temperature prior to prior to 1850. So this is already here and it's happening. Next slide, please. one way to think about what's in front of us is on the mitigation side. So, it's cumulative carbon in the atmosphere that drives temperature increase. So it's like, okay, even if we stop all carbon emissions from today on, we got what we've got, and it has caused the climate change that it has caused. We are not going to undo it. So this chart, I hope you can read it at the back, lays out all the emissions that are contributing to the total CO2 that is in that, or all GHGs in the atmosphere. So it's 16% in buildings, 15% in transport, agriculture is 22%, industry 34%, and then other is 12%. So it's many different sectors that are contributing to the total greenhouse gas emissions. Electricity and transport together is about 38%. Next slide, please. So what is in front of us to really meet the climate change challenge is a total transformation. And I come at it from sort of engineering and energy systems point of view. I mean, the work that I've done in this space is mostly in renewable integration, so wind and solar into the power grid. That's where I come. But that's like the lowest level of, so you can imagine the power system, especially with the declining cost of solar and wind. You can imagine, in fact, India is implementing huge amounts of solar and wind just because it's cost effective. It's like the cheapest way of getting electricity is around solar plus battery, okay? So you don't need any more incentive because it's the cheapest, that's the first thing you're going to do. So power system, I think we sort of see a way to change the power system, although even there are huge challenges to get to a fully carbon-free power system. But then power system is a subset of the energy system. So you have transport, you have manufacturing, you have industry, all of those things. So that has to change. Energy system is part of the economic system, okay? So, I think the last time I checked estimates, energy system, so the world GDP is about $100 trillion. Energy is about $10 to $15 trillion of that. And we are talking about changing that big part of the total world economy and transforming it to become carbon-free. So it's a huge challenge. But it's not just the economic system, and Peter really focused in on the whole social system aspect of it. So economic system is driven by social and political decisions. So once the society and politicians and policymakers, their decision, the business, of course business plays a role in it, but it's intertwined. And so we have to change the social system. Things like address inequalities and shared responsibility and fairness, they become huge when it comes to the social system. And then finally, we the humans are one species on this planet. Okay, there are other animals and so forth, and so there is the whole Earth system. So yeah, we have to worry about our GHG emissions, but biodiversity loss is a huge factor in dealing with climate change. So what we are looking at is transforming this whole system to become more sustainable and so that all species can thrive in the future. So that's sort of the scale of challenge. Next slide, please. So in my opinion, I'm going to connect AI and climate now. AI is potentially applicable to all facets of this problem. So that's sort of my main takeaway for you is think about any piece of climate, and I've divided into 3 parts. And Peter talked a lot about resilience. And I think when I think about a country like India, I think extreme heat and how we are going to respond to extreme heat in India is going to be a huge, huge challenge. There was one estimate I saw 2-3 years ago. At the world population is about 8.5 billion. They said that roughly 3 to 3.5 billion people will live in areas where temperatures will exceed what humans can tolerate. So this is a huge, huge challenge. Now, one approach to extreme heat is air conditioning, right? And again, we need the air conditioning, but then it has impact on global warming. So it's like there are ways in which we adapt to climate change which make the mitigation problem worse. So there are alternatives. You can think about green spaces and green infrastructure that Peter talked about that is maybe a better solution to extreme heat. But just thinking about extreme heat as a problem, droughts and flooding, I think there will be parts of the world, there will be severe droughts, and there will be parts where there will be flooding, and both will happen. I think California is an example where both are going to happen. And I imagine there are parts of India where both are going to happen. And in that, resilient agriculture. After all, we have to feed 8.5 billion people. How do we make our agriculture more resilient to all these changes, both on the heat side and on the drought and flooding side? I think is a big opportunity and big challenge. In mitigation, of course, it's the electric energy system, so putting more wind and solar and batteries now on this. To me, that's sort of the easy problem, and there AI can help us manage this grid, which is much more dynamic, much more unpredictable. It's a challenge made for AI. Managing buildings and energy consumption in buildings. I mean, India is having this enormous boom in building construction. You drive in any city in India and you get these high rises everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere there are high rises. And if we do it right, these could be zero energy buildings. AI can help manage the building energy consumption. Industry, again, manufacturing is a huge priority for India. I mean, big initiative to bring manufacturing to India. If we do it right, these manufacturing industries can be much more carbon decarbonized. So we can do that, be more efficient. And finally, sustainable agriculture. I think in the last slide I showed that 22% of GHG, or something like 22%, is agriculture and land use. So if you do agriculture right, it actually helps with mitigation. And if you do it right, maybe it also helps with resilience to droughts and flooding. So how do we rethink agriculture? For a country like India, I think, and for the whole world as a matter of fact, is a huge challenge and opportunity, and AI can help us with all of this. And finally, understanding climate, so things like climate modeling and prediction. Weather forecasting has dramatically improved with AI. With machine learning techniques, now we can get weather forecasts that are really, really great. And so that's a huge area that's developing with machine learning. And I think Peter talked about extreme events. These extreme events are difficult to predict, and there are specialized AI techniques that can help us with extreme event prediction. So in short, AI ML advances can help with all aspects of climate change mitigation, adaptation, and understanding. So the whole waterfront is ready for AI, especially as AI improves. I think we can attack all of these problems. Next slide, please. So I don't want to touch on everything on this slide, but so Peter talked about multidisciplinary collaborations. I want to talk about the second bullet there. Solutions must be cost-effective and scalable. It's not enough to have one-off solution, and certainly that doesn't work if they are expensive, then nobody's going to adapt them. So I think the tremendous success story with solar and wind and batteries is really an inspiration. So it's no longer policy-driven support, rather it's simple economics. Okay, it's the cheapest thing to do. I'm just going to buy the cheapest thing. You don't need to incentivize people to buy cheap. So if we can make our solution cost-effective, and again, the scale of India has enormous room for innovation to make things cheap and cost-effective. So I would very much focus on scalability and cost-effectiveness. Other thing, and Peter sort of alluded to this, I think about it a little bit differently. Infrastructures. Think of your road system, and right now I just came from Mumbai to Pune on that highway. I mean, that road will hopefully last for, 50 to 100 years. Well, India's making investments in billions and billions of dollars in building new infrastructure. So you have to make these decisions on huge amounts of investment, knowing that climate change is going to put a lot of that at risk. This is a really, really, really hard problem. Like, how do you make wise investment? So Nirakshira Vivek that Dr. Kulkarni mentioned becomes extremely difficult if you have to make decisions on spending a lot of money to build infrastructure that you're going to be stuck with 50 to 100 years. So how do you do that right? I think it's, again, a huge opportunity for innovation and research, innovation and deployment, Peter talked about this at length, so I'm not going to. We have to go beyond engineering and technology. So we have to connect with social sciences, economics, political science, and so forth. Social justice, and finally, students are very, very interested in this. This is our reason for hope. And I certainly am inspired by student interest in this. I once said this, that I really think that we can be optimistic about our future because students are interested in working on this. And then a student challenged me. He said, it's well and good for you to say this, but you left us with this problem. So, you cannot shirk your responsibility. And I think my generation has to take responsibility for what we are leaving the future generations with. So I think there is some sense of somber responsibility that I feel excited about student interest in this, but I also recognize that that we were profligate in how we used energy and how we built our whole system that is so wasteful, shall we say. I want to close by congratulating all the students, the 19 teams who have made it to the finals here. I wish them the best. I hope every one of you wins. And whether you win or not, I think the fact that you've come this far shows the promise you have for making a difference for your generation and the generations to come. I have, with God's grace, 3 grandchildren, 6, 4, and 3. And I think about their future. And I think the work that's going on under Indradhanu, I congratulate Pccoe for thinking of Indradhanu, and I congratulate all the students here who have put in great ideas. And the work you do, I think, is the reason we can be very hopeful about meeting the climate change challenge. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words. Before we move ahead, let me quickly walk you through today's schedule so everyone knows what lies ahead. Following the inauguration, we will begin with the evaluation by our esteemed jury members till 1:30 p.m. This will be followed by a lunch break from 1:30 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. Post-lunch, we resume with the project exhibition from 2:15 p.m. onwards, where participants will showcase their ideas, innovation, and hard work. Finally, we conclude the day with the valedictory function and prize distribution starting at 3:45 p.m., celebrating effort, creativity, and excellence. We request everyone to kindly adhere to the schedule to help us ensure a smooth and enjoyable event for all. Proceeding ahead, I now request Dr. Sandeep Patil, Associate Dean International Relations, to kindly present the vote of thanks, expressing our gratitude to everyone who made this event possible. Please give him a huge round of applause. We will begin with the evaluations now, and the jury members will randomly pick up the chits to evaluate a particular team. I request the volunteers to please bring in the bowl. be knowing which team they will evaluate, that will be decided by picking up the chits from the fishbowl. The process is going on in the GD room. Meanwhile, I request Dr. Sandeep Patil, Associate Dean International Relations, to please present the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Afia. Gratitude must be like a light which does not announce its arrival, but it brightens whatever it touches. This morning, as we gathered under the vibrant arc of Indradhanu, we did not merely inaugurate an event. We have reaffirmed a belief. What ideas meet intent and innovation meets responsibilities, and future becomes something we can actively shape. On behalf of International Relations Cell of Pimpri-Chinchwad College of Engineering, it is my indeed privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this inspiring inaugural ceremony of the Indradhanu Pccoe International Grand Challenge 2025-26. At the outset, I express our deepest gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. Pramod Khargonkar sir, Vice Chancellor and Distinguished Professor of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, University of California. Sir, your presence today had added immense intellectual gravitas to this particular occasion. Your journey stands as a living proof that when rigorous science is guided by purpose, it can transform societies. Your words this morning were not just insightful, they were reassuring that AI, when steered by ethics and empathy, can truly become an ally in addressing the climate issues. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to our keynote speaker, Dr. Peter Groffman, professor at the City University of New York. Sir, your address beautifully bridged the words of environmental science, data, and human responsibility. You reminded us that climate change is not merely a scientific problem. It is a collectively human challenge. Your perspective has enriched the thinking of our students, researchers, faculty members alike, and will continue resonating long after today as well. I take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to our visionary leadership, Dr. Govind N. Kulkarni, Director, Pccoe. Sir, Indradhanu is not just an event. It is a reflection of your belief that engineering education must go beyond classrooms and examinations and respond meaningfully to the global challenges. Thank you for your constant encouragement, trust, and unwavering support. Thank you, sir. Our heartfelt thanks also goes to Dr. N.B. Chopre, Deputy Director, Pccoe, whose meticulous planning, academic insights have always helped us to come up with these great events. We also would like to acknowledge the Srushti initiative of Pccoe, which is our institutional commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals. Their support ensured that innovation here was not just an intelligent activity, but all-inclusive, ethical, and environmental responsibility. We also acknowledge the presence and support of our co-organizers, dignitaries, jury members, industry experts, collaborators, deans and HODs of departments who have contributed their time, expertise, and belief to make Indradhanu truly international in spirit and impactful in purpose. Most importantly, I would like to acknowledge our participants, the young innovators who have taken the bold step of asking, can AI do this? From that, AI should do this, and that too responsibly. We move ahead with the project demonstration and evaluation. which will be open for evaluation by our esteemed juries. This is where ideas meet scrutiny, creativity meets clarity, and innovation meets impact. Ladies and gentlemen, today's inauguration is not just a conclusion, it is a threshold that leads to a rigorous evaluation, meaningful dialogue, and solutions that matter to humanity. The true colors of Indradhanu will now unfold through the brilliance of these project demonstrations. With these words, I once again extend my sincere thanks to everyone who has contributed to this inspiring beginning. Let us now move forward with curiosity, collaborations, and commitment towards the next phase of this remarkable journey. Thank you, and let the grand challenge begin. Thank you all.